Vienna in the 1860s, imperial capital of the Habsburg Empire, was a city at the forefront of social change. The Europe-wide revolutions of 1848 had undermined aristocratic, conservative rule here, allowing a kind of edgy liberalism to flourish on the streets. There were also an unusual number of immigrants in the city, so Freud would have grown up surrounded by a cosmopolitan mix of voices and cultures. This is the Jewish district where Freud's family first lived. It was poor and overcrowded, but many capitalised on the opportunities that the city offered and quickly rose from the margins. They became newspaper magnates and bankers, academics, doctors and lawyers. Freud's parents passionately wanted the same for their clever eldest son. Of his 6 siblings, he was the only one given his own room to work in, and he topped his class for 7 years. The young Freud's intense studies seemed to have fed into his self-image as someone destined for greatness. He found inspiration in ancient civilizations, in the glory that was Greece and the grandeur that was Rome, and he came to identify with powerful heroic figures from history and literature, like Moses and Hannibal and Alexander the Great. In 1873, at the age of 17, Sigmund sought his own glory at Vienna University. Initially dabbling in philosophy and law, he was soon drawn to the university's celebrated natural scientists and their guiding light, the Englishman Charles Darwin. Darwin's remarkable, epoch-defining theory of evolution chimed with Freud's desire for kudos and celebrity. But to match up to his hero meant hours of meticulous, painstaking, not obviously glamorous laboratory work, trying to unravel the mysteries of the nervous system of fish. Freud himself said that his studies in anatomy, zoology, chemistry and botany made him a godless medical man and an empiricist. And certainly his time here nurtured a scientific worldview that never left him. If you look at this picture of him from the time, you can just imagine the precise, clinical fish dissector, a man who seems to be both neat and orderly in appearance and character. At age 25, Freud fell wildly in love with a young woman, Martha Bernays. Their early correspondence reveals an altogether different side to Freud.
There's probably 1,600 letters in all. They were writing more or less every day, sometimes 2 or even 3 letters a day. Bits have been released of his letters alone, but this is the first time now that we're seeing her letters.
How brilliant. So we've got Martha's voice. What's she saying? What does she write about here?
Well, anything and everything. I mean, in this case, she had just sent Freud a lock of her hair to put in a little brooch, you know, as lovers do. And Freud had written back, "I hope you didn't tear it out, or did it come out when you were combing?" So here, in this letter here, she is taking him to task for his ignorance. She says, you know, you're a doctor, you have no idea of the code of love. One does not send one's lover ripped out or combed out hair.
I suppose this is the first time he's had a full-blown love affair.
It is his first and his only. And this is one of the things about these letters. You get an insight into Freud that you'll get nowhere else. And he's losing his control sometimes. That he really is almost on the edge of a nervous breakdown when he feels they can't go on, when he feels there's an impossible disagreement between her. She is for sweeping it under the carpet. She says, why do you wallow around in this stuff that makes us miserable? And he says, you know, you have to face it, you have to talk through it.
That's fascinating. So it's almost like we've got Freud, the proto-psychoanalyst here.
Yes. I mean, the psychoanalytic dictum is say everything that's on your mind, don't censor, don't repress. It's there already.
Martha had opened Freud's eyes to a world of demanding human emotion, and the financial pressures of their engagement saw him casting around for opportunities beyond the lab.
Eventually, he abandoned his research career to study medicine, and one day when he was reading a medical journal, he came across something that he was convinced would make his name.
In 1884, he wrote to Martha about a magical drug, little known at the time, cocaine. In this pretty sober analysis, he says, "I take very small doses of it regularly against depression and against indigestion, and with the most brilliant success." But then just listen to this when he's also writing to Martha, where he sounds suspiciously like he's under the influence. "Woe to you, my princess, when I come. You shall see who is the stronger, a gentle little girl who does not eat enough, or a big wild man who has cocaine in his body." At first, Freud denied that cocaine was harmful, but his rash endorsement would damage his reputation. When he gave it to a friend suffering from morphine addiction, in the hope that cocaine would cure him, the consequences were disastrous. His friend became as addicted to the new drug as he had been to the old. Freud did manage to give up cocaine, but his appetite for experimentation would not be stilled.